Today we're looking at 5 reasons you may not want to move to Torrance, California. And if by the end of the video you're still interested in moving to Torrance, well, we're gonna go ahead and check out my open house from last weekend and see what a home in Torrance really looks like. What's up, everybody? I am Cheyne Inman, a local real estate agent here in Torrance, covering all of the South Bay. And on this channel, we look at everything community and outdoors within the South Bay. So if that's something you're interested in, be sure to subscribe and hit the little bell to be notified every time a new video comes on. So as I mentioned, today we're going to be looking at reasons that you may not want to move to Torrance. I live here in Torrance and I love it, but I don't want to just put it out there as this great place that everyone should move to. It's obviously your decision on where you want to go, and so I just want to bring in some reasons that are good and bad, and today we're looking at just some of the bad ones. So the first one that is unique to Torrance and maybe other areas in California or obviously out of state, but that's just the amount of coyotes and raccoons and skunks that we have here in the city. And you know, when I first moved here, I thought it was really interesting. Even within the South Bay, there's definitely more coyotes seen in the area than some of the other cities like Manhattan Beach and Redondo Beach. And I know that because there's signs all over the city that say, people put up in their yards, coyotes in the area, be sure not to leave your little dogs outside. So it's just something to be aware of. I don't think it's something that you should fear or anything. It's just, if you have a little dog or cat, you might want to be a little bit more aware of where they're at night and not leaving them out by themselves, because there are coyotes in the area. There's a lot of parks in the area. There's a lot of little wilderness spots, and so there's a lot of areas that they can live, and you'll also see them roaming around the streets. During New Year's Eve, my wife and I decided that we were gonna do a run from the start of 2020 into 2021. So we started our run at 11:50 p.m. in 2020 and ran through the night into 2021, and we were just running around our block, nothing crazy. We didn't go on any trails or anything. And we turn on to Delamo, which is a pretty busy street, and I see this really big dog, and it's walking right next to the high school. And so I'm like, oh, that's kind of strange. There's a dog out and walking around, but it looked really, really big, and I was like, that's strange. And then as we got closer, I was like, oh, that's not a dog, that's actually a coyote. And it sprinted off and ran off to probably the nearby little refuge area right on Henrietta. There's probably quite a few of them living in those little refuge areas. So it's definitely something to be aware of, but it's not necessarily something to be scared of. Like, they saw us coming and they sprinted off and went along on their own. So that's one thing. I'm actually more worried about the skunks than anything, because I don't want to get sprayed by a skunk, and I've seen them quite a few times on my runs, especially if I go for a run at night. There was one time I was running around the block and I turned this corner and it's a skunk right in front of me, and I was like, oh no. And it was probably 3, 4, or 5 feet away from me, and it was just as startled as I was, and I was like, uh-oh, I'm gonna turn and go the other way. And it thought, okay, I'm gonna turn and go the other way too. So we both just turned and went the other way and didn't have any issues. But there's definitely more skunks and raccoons and coyotes than a lot of the big city type towns, I would say, or at least they're a little bit more visible. Maybe they're just more friendly here. So it's something to think about, not necessarily something to be scared of, just something that if you have small animals, don't put them out overnight, just in case. All right, so con number 2 is the weather. So I love the weather here, being 75 and sunny for most of the time, But there's a couple things that I don't like about the weather. And one is really simple. It's just that you don't feel the seasons as much as you might in other areas. So, it's never really, really cold and rainy. It's never really super, super hot. It's always just, kind of constant and warm, but not crazy hot and not crazy cold. So you don't really get those feelings of the season changing. You don't get the huge change in leaves. It's kind of there, but not huge. You don't get snow. You don't get 100-degree days every day of summer. Sometimes in the summertime, I don't even realize it's summer because it's gloomy and overcast. And then there's times in the winter where it's 90 degrees in February, and I'm like, this is summer or this is winter. So it's something that is good and bad. Just depends on how you like to live with warmth or cooler. But then the other aspect that is a little bit unique to Torrance is just the fog and the hard hitting wind. A lot of times in the spring especially, we'll get these just really strong winds coming in over the hillside from the beach, and it's just coming through, and it'll be a nice warm day at 8 a.m. to noon, and then all of a sudden the wind picks up or the fog comes in, and it's just this gloomy cold day. So obviously that's not all the time, but there's been some days where I'll leave my house and I'll be in shorts and a short sleeve shirt, and an hour later I'll be looking for a sweatshirt because I'm freezing. So if you like to see the seasons and have leaves change and snow and different things, Torrance might not be a good spot. And if you really struggle with hard-hitting winds or gloomy days, that, like I said, they're not every day, but that could also be a problem. So that's con number 2. All right, so con number 3 is the air quality. So it kind of goes along with what I mentioned before as far as the weather. We do have a lot of fires here in Southern California, and with the fires comes some poor air quality sometimes. You also have a lot of traffic, and that traffic can add to poor air quality. So, being a runner, I actually pay attention to the air quality, just because if I'm gonna go for a run and the air quality is 130, is probably not very good for my lungs. So I do kind of keep an eye on where it's at. But that's not all the time. It's just something that, as fires have increased in the area the last few years, it's something that I've been paying attention to more and more, because when you do have a big fire, the smoke just really makes for poor air quality. And then also, like I said, there's, a lot of traffic in Southern California, which also adds to the air quality. So not something that you're feeling on the daily, like, oh, it's so polluted here. Just more something to be aware of, that there are days that there's fires or different things going on, and the air quality may not be great for getting outdoors. So if you're, if you have asthma or are more sensitive to that, you might notice it more often. But it's, a couple times a year that I really am actually checking the air quality. It's not like I'm getting out there every day and going for a run and checking the air quality. It's more if I go out the door and I smell smoke, or I know there's a fire in the area, I'll check and see what the air quality is to see if it's safe to get out and go for a run. All right, so con number 4 kind of goes along with the last 2 topics, and that is the traffic in the area. And I don't just mean traffic on the freeway. Obviously, Southern California has terrible traffic. Just kind of depends on where you live in Torrance, because if you live more on the West Torrance area or South Torrance area, it may take you a little bit longer to get to a freeway before you actually even can get into more traffic. So it's maybe not bumper to bumper traffic in the general freeway sense. It's more just like sitting at traffic light after traffic light just to get to a freeway to get on there. So if you're more on the West Torrance side, it may take you 15 minutes to get to a freeway, and then you're going to sit in some traffic there. If you're more on like the northwest side or northeast side of Torrance, you're a little bit closer to some freeways, and so that gives you a little better option. So it's just kind of a matter of what area of Torrance you're at, and is getting onto a freeway quickly a priority for you, or is being closer to the beach a priority for you. So like I said, there's a lot of good options with Torrance, and that's just something to be aware of if you are making a commute outside of Torrance. All right, so the last con, number 5, is the bugs. And so this one might seem a little strange because it's not like, oh, there's bugs everywhere. It's more like, okay, there are bugs in the area that I feel like are a little more prominent than other bugs and are a little more unique to the area. So one being termites. You live close to the beach, you do get more termites. And so that is something to think about. You know, when I first moved down here, I was really shocked at how often I saw a termite tent being set up over a house. It's like the circus is in town every single week here. But yeah, that was something that I had to get used to. And selling homes here, working with my clients for them to buy their homes, you know, we always have them do a termite inspection, or we recommend that they do a termite inspection because, you know, it is very common here. It's not something to be afraid of. You just have to, you know, take care of it if it's coming around. I mean, I grew up not even knowing what a termite looked like. And so when I first saw a termite down here, I didn't even know what it was. I had to Google it, look at a picture of it and figure out what it actually was. So that's just something to be aware of and not necessarily be afraid of. Just think, okay, there are termites, and so if I'm buying a home here, I need to have a termite report done and make sure that there's not any major damage from the termites, or if there is, look at the costs that it might incur. And then another aspect of the bugs is, you know, just basic ones. You know, we've got black widow spiders, and we've got ants, and you know, just things that are kind of nuisances, but not like, oh my gosh, there's so many bugs everywhere. It's just more like, okay, there's bugs, and just don't leave food out, and you're not gonna have ant problems. And you know, don't put your hand in a pile of wood that's been sitting for a while in the corner, in a black corner of an room, or you might end up with a black widow in there. And as long as you understand what types of bugs are in the area, you won't be too surprised. I don't think we have anything super crazy like in other areas of the country. So that is my list of cons. Like I said, I actually live in Torrance and really like it here, so those kind of things, none of the things on that list really bothered me. So if you are still thinking of moving to Torrance, feel free to reach out. I love to hear from people. People contacting me all the time, so call or text or email me anytime. And with that, let's look at a home in Torrance that is currently on the market and that I held open last weekend. All right, let's check out this beautiful 4-bedroom, 2-bath home in Northwest Torrance, listed for $899,000.